Welcome back to Convey with Caroline, the podcast where every story becomes your path to powerful communication and personal growth. I'm your host, Caroline Giro, and in this episode, we are tackling imposter syndrome as part of our series on finding your voice. In the previous episodes, we tackled the importance of finding your voice and overcoming fear and self-doubt. And today, we want to tackle something else that also affects your journey to finding your voice, and it messes up with your self-worth. And this is imposter syndrome. If you've ever felt like a fraud who doesn't deserve success, or like people might find out you're not as competent as they think, trust me, you're not alone. When I came out of campus, I thought I was pursuing what I loved. I went to university, spent some time studying communication, public relations, electronic media. When I graduated, I did some postgraduate studies in marketing. And I felt like that was the path of which I would follow. But I was young at the time. My first 2 jobs were in the world of comms. I loved it. But something very interesting would happen. When I got my first job, I was working for a PR firm at the time. I had a boss who really trusted in my ability. And she'd call me into meetings to brainstorm. And she'd tell me, Caroline, we'd like to pitch to this company next week on Monday. I need you to write the proposal. And I'd panic. Me? Write the proposal? Why does she think that I can do this? I couldn't see what she sees in me. And to make matters worse, after I wrote the proposal and we discussed it with her, Monday came by and I gave it to her, explained it to her. She had a few questions. We made a couple of edits and it's time to go and see the client. At the time, the client was a top insurance company in Kenya. And she has a meeting with the CEO, so I prep her. And when she's about to leave, she's like, Caroline, we're going with you. You're the one who's going to make the presentation. And I'm like, Lord Jesus Christ, calm down and save me. What does she mean? And I remember when I walked into the premise of the company, I remember feeling so out of place. It was one of these companies that was really doing well, and they were among the first to launch a couple of new insurance schemes for women in the country at the time. They had hired quite a number of young people, and I walked in and I'm seeing people sitting around looking so professional, and my heart was just beating. I wanted to run away. I felt like I don't belong here. We were ushered into the meeting. We sat with her and we were meeting with the CEO, and she tells me to make the pitch. And I remember, despite me writing it, despite me knowing what is supposed to be done, I really felt like I'm gonna be caught. These people are gonna find out that I don't belong here. Like, this is a mistake. How did I end up here? Well, the day came and went, and my career proceeded in many other ways. But the funny thing about it is, even when I fast forwarded 10 years into my career, even 15 years into my career, there are moments where I'd now get an award. I'd do some work and people will come and tell me, you did a good job, and you get an award for communication or for PR or for this and the other. And I would not say anything about it. I would not write about it. I would not showcase it in any way, because I thought I was being humble. And people would ask me, why are you not taking pride in these awards that you're being given? In fact, even a close friend once talked to me about it, and I'd say, no, I don't want to sound like I'm bragging. But really deep down inside of me, I thought it's a mistake. I thought that, how could they pick me? Why did they pick me? What did they see inside of me? I feel like if I make noise about a particular award that I got, it feels like the other real experts or the other knowledgeable people will all wake up and say, ha, how did she get this thing? So that's what is the imposter syndrome really, truly is, which manifests sometimes in us. And whether you're young or old or experienced, if it is within you, it will never go away unless you do some work to get rid of it. And it is important that we go back and try and find out where this imposter syndrome comes about. And it would also be nice for us to even define what imposter syndrome is. And this is an internal belief that is inside of us, inside of me, inside of you, that tells you that you're not as competent as others perceive you to be. You chalk up your successes, just like in my example, to fluke, to luck. You were in the right place at the right time. You don't want to believe it is because you're genuinely talented in that particular thing that you're doing. You don't want to believe that others in you are seeing something, and you feel like at any given point, you're going to be caught. I think the famous Maya Angelou, who is world renowned and one of the master skillful communicators we've had in our lifetime, said that even after writing a couple of books, she'd always feel the feeling like, oh my gosh, once I launch this book, people will discover I'm a real fraud. People will now catch me. Like, she can't believe that she's gone this far without people finding out like she doesn't know what she's doing. And that's what happens to a lot of us, where we think we are not competent for something. It could either be in our workplaces, in school, it prevents us from speaking out, it prevents us from talking or even owning. And even later on, when I'd walk into boardrooms, later on in my career, something that would really surprise me, you'd find there are a couple of people who have so much confidence in themselves, even when they don't know what they're doing. And a lot of times they end up winning because the people who are competent enough have this imposter syndrome and let them win. And they keep quiet. It could be you keep quiet because you feel like these loud people they know what they're saying, they know what they're doing. It's just that they're confident. So that's what imposter syndrome is. And signs of imposter syndrome include the constant self-doubt, doubting yourself. For me, it even cost me a couple of opportunities. I remember in the early years of my career, I actually turned down a few opportunities because I felt I wasn't good enough for them. I remember once my sister called me for an opportunity which was supposed to be with one of the larger agencies at the time, and it was a management position. And I didn't even want to apply. I didn't even want to get it because I felt like the moment I get it, within 1 month, they'll discover that immediately you see somebody else with even a better video. And then you're like, wow, thank God I hadn't posted it. Thank God I hadn't posted mine because the standards here are high. So you don't post it. Then the next time you see another better one and so on. So you start feeling like you're not good enough. There are people who are better than you. And this can magnify your feelings of inadequacy. As I mentioned in the first 2 episodes, by now you know that I am a person of faith. And I truly believe that a lack of faith or lack of a bigger purpose for your life can also contribute to imposter syndrome. Because without grounding in something greater than yourself, it's very easy to rely solely on external validation. I think this is something that you see with experience, even with relationships and everything that we do. We are slowly reaching a point in our lives that it is very common knowledge now that happiness, peace can only come from within. You cannot find them, you cannot get it from your parents, you cannot get it from your children, you cannot get it from your spouse or your boyfriend or whoever. It can only come from within. But if you're a flawed human being, how do you fix yourself? You only fix yourself by drawing from a larger being. In my case, I draw it from my belief in God and the plan that He has for my life. So the lack of grounding in a larger purpose for your life can also make you see small things like very large things. But if you're able to see the larger picture and see where you fall within the purpose that God created for your life and why He created and put you here, all of a sudden you realize that that experience of yours in university, at the job interview, at your workplace is a very, very small thing, very tiny thing that you shouldn't make the focus of your entire life. I know what imposter syndrome makes you feel. You need to ask yourself, how does it make me feel whenever I feel I'm in the wrong room or I feel invalidated? What's your answer? If you feel that you're embarrassed or full of shame or you feel like hiding, then you have imposter syndrome. Another question you need to ask yourself is, what need of mine is not being met? Because for you to have it, there's something in you that is missing. Is it your need to be perfect in everything, like I mentioned? Is it your fear of failure? Is it your need for validation? What is the thing that isn't being met? What are you secretly afraid of and why? What are you secretly afraid of and why? In my particular case, when I did the work, I realized that my fear stemmed from a deeper rooted fear of authority. And this came for me when I looked back into my journey, where I mentioned I had a stint in boarding school in my primary school years that really traumatized me. And it was the first time in my life where authority was used to put you down, to put you in pain, to make you cower in fear. And I realized I carried that into my life. And I had a fear of authority figures seeing that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. So until the day I went and healed the inner child of me, who felt that they were beaten into submission, they were forced into compliance, I always felt like I don't want to let down my boss. I don't want to let down my teacher. I don't want to let down any person I view as an authority figure. So if I walk into a meeting, then the chairman of that particular board, I don't want them to feel like I've let them down. And that would make me either keep quiet, not scared to make a mistake, and so on. So you need to find out, where did it come from in the first place? Because you have to be able to go down there and attack that. And then find out what's really going on with you. And then find out deep down, what does that mean for you? And what is it that you're scared of? So I have mentioned a bit about digging into a higher calling and digging into finding out the purpose that the Creator made you for. For this, I want to draw on the story of Moses in the Bible. The Moses story is very intriguing. It's found in the book of Exodus. And it's a very intriguing story. Many books have been written about Moses. Movies made, I think there was the Prince of Egypt. It's a very, very fascinating story. But what I want to draw about Moses was when he was first called. God showed himself to Moses in various ways, and God chose him. So I'm trying to imagine I'm Moses. I'm minding my own business. I'm at work, I'm typing on a computer, or I'm shooting this podcast, or I'm talking to a client, and then suddenly a big flame appears in front of me. I mean, how do you even ignore a huge fire in front of you? Of course, you'd be scared stiff, but after that, once you realize, okay, fine, we've established I'm talking to God, okay, all right, that was an angel, okay, that is God, okay, God is here, he's talking to me, fine, fantastic. And God tells him, Moses, this is what I would like you to do. I'd like you to do this and this. I'd like you to go to Pharaoh, and I'll have a message. Tell him that I'd like the following things, and this is what you're going to do. And I'm going to give you some cool tricks. I'm going to give you when you throw this stuff here, it's able to do this. If you do this, it does this. And all Moses had to ask God in return is like, so if they ask me who sent me, who do I say sent me? And of course, we have that world famous answer, I am who I am, which is another different conversation. But what I want to focus on is Moses told God that, God, you know that I have a problem with speaking. Some versions allude to him being a stammerer. And even though he wasn't a stammerer, it seems that he had problems in his speech. He didn't feel like he was articulate enough. He didn't feel like I'm the right person. So Moses is telling God who created him, who gave you life, gave you eyes, ears, gave you everything. And he's telling him point blank, I can't do this thing you're telling me to do because I'm at this and I'm at that and I'm at this. And it's one of the places in the Bible where we are told that God got angry. We're told that God was angry. He was very angry. And I think sometimes that's what happens, where sometimes God himself has put a talent in us. He's the one who put it in us. All of us have different talents, or all of us have different areas of expertise. But every single person on this planet has something that they're good at, whether they found it or not. And we have it there, and we sometimes behave like Moses, where we start saying things like, I don't think I'm the right person for this job. I'm not saying I'm at this. And I'm not saying that we don't need to prepare. We must prepare. Just being good at something doesn't mean you automatically just go ill-prepared. But like in Moses' case, we doubt ourselves and we have that imposter syndrome. God himself chose Moses. God himself thought Moses was the right person for the job. He gave him all the tools that he required to do the job, but he still doubted that he could do it. He had imposter syndrome. And just like in Moses' case, where he was told, okay, fine, let's get your brother Aaron to accompany you. And you'll be telling him what to say, and Aaron will say it on your behalf. Sometimes that's what happens. We pass on opportunities to other people. So you need to ask, who is the Aaron in your life? Who have you passed that opportunity to because you're so scared to take it? Because every time you miss an opportunity, it falls on somebody else's lap. So who is the Aaron in your life that you keep throwing opportunities away to, and so forth? So that's what imposter syndrome does to us. So I now want to give some 5 concrete strategies to help you to overcome imposter syndrome, redefine your worth, find your voice, and ultimately be able to communicate with confidence. Number 1, acknowledge and label the feeling. You have to write down your imposter thoughts. Take a pen and paper, write down what you feel when you go to these spaces. What is the feeling that you get? Do you feel like I lack the skill set, I lack the expertise, I'm not good at it, do you feel like I'm good at it, but I'm not good at communicating it? Do you feel like I'm good at it, but I don't feel like I was the right person to be here? What are you feeling? Remove the power of vague anxiety from your brain. Anxiety is another way that imposter syndrome manifests itself in our lives. And the way to prevent having vague anxiety, that feeling of I'm anxious, but I don't know why I am anxious. We need to be able to label it. So ask yourself, is this thought really true or am I making assumption? Number 2, document your wins and your skills. You have accomplished something in your life. Every step of the way you have accomplished something. In the same journal, have a section where you have your wins written down, where you record positive feedback, completed projects, or personal achievements. You've won an award, your boss gave you a commendation, your friend, your colleague made a comment that made you feel like, wow, wonderful, you did a good job, or commented on something specific that you did. You need to maintain a wins journal. You also need to reflect on the unique strengths that God has equipped you with. This goes back again to the Genesis creation story, where we are told about why God created us. Go back to the beginning. If you're a Christian, if you're a person of faith, go back to your Bible. If you are of an alternative faith, go back to the reason why you feel you are created and reflect on the unique strengths that God has equipped you with. Draw strength from that. Number 3, reframe your mistakes as growth. Take everything as incremental growth. Instead of I failed, so I'm not good enough, learn to say I'm learning, and that means I'm good enough to improve. As long as you're able to take that mistake, improve next time. 1 year later, you won't be the same person. 2 years later, you won't be the same person. Work on having continual growth mindset. Number 4, you need to leverage on AI and digital tools. Yes, I said it. Artificial intelligence is here with us, and you can use it to your advantage. You need to try using AI-driven journaling prompts or voice analysis tools to practice speaking confidently. If these are some of the things that are disturbing you, take your phone. If you have a camera or a phone, place it on your desk. And if you want practice talking, record yourself. And then don't do it immediately. Wait a while, wait a couple of hours, or come back the next day. Watch it and look at the video and watch yourself. Then next time, put the phone away and don't watch it, but listen to it. Listen to your voice. Next time, do it without volume and just look at your gestures. And you will slowly see things that you're able to improve. AI has made it very easy because we have analysis tools that exist. You're able to use things like ChatGPT for the text prompts where you want to generate reflective questions, or you can use other AI apps such as Yodlee or Ori, which can help to analyze your speech patterns and give you feedback. So use AI tools that are available even for free to help you on this journey. 5th, seek community and accountability. Do not walk alone. Share your goals and fears with a mentor. I had spoken in the earlier podcast about the importance of having a mentor, or even a small group, or a trusted friend, or even an online community of your peers. Get feedback from people who believe in you. They will be able to encourage you and tell you that the things that you're overthinking and can be able to help you shed the imposter syndrome. If you're part of a faith-based group, ask for prayer or encouragement and keep reading your Bible to be able to see how to encourage yourself, because imposter syndrome is something that has been put in us through experiences, through trauma, things that we went through as we grew up or even as grown-ups. Remember that imposter syndrome often seeps into how we present our personal or even business brands. If you're not convinced that you're the real deal, trust me, you won't be able to convince anybody else. Everything that you do, from making physical pitches, your online profiles, your social media posts, and even things like your email language will always come across as tentative because you don't seem sure. So what exercise can I leave you with to try and practice on? Is go online and review if you have a LinkedIn profile or any other platform, go and review what your LinkedIn headline or even your Instagram bio says. Does it accurately reflect your expertise and personality, or have you put something vague? Because if you find yourself using lukewarm words such as aspiring, or I'm aspiring content creator, or the word maybe, it means that you don't believe in yourself. Remember, you don't have to be the world's top expert in what you're doing to be a respectable voice in your industry or in your community or in the world at large. Everybody has a place, and the world is large enough for us all. So I'd like to give you a challenge for this week. I'd like you to write down 3 accomplishments that you're proud of. Yes, only 3, no matter how small, and share them in our Convey with Caroline online community or in our comment section below. We'd love to hear from you. You can also DM us. And 2, if you're feeling bold, you can record a 60-second audio or video clip introducing yourself as if you are at a professional networking event. Post it for feedback and let us know how it went. I can't wait to see you all conquer this imposter syndrome. So as we wrap up episode 3 of the Convey with Caroline podcast, I want you to remember that imposter syndrome is common, but it doesn't have to define you. You have the right to explore, to learn, and to share what you know. And your faith or bigger purpose can be the anchor that keeps you grounded in the real truth and not the truth that you have made up about yourself. If today's episode resonated with you, please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and share it with someone who you feel might be battling their own feelings of not measuring up. Let's break these chains of self-doubt together. Until next time, remember, the world needs your voice, so let's convey excellence.